see. Am I on? I am. Hello and welcome to the Party of the Sioux. So I know we have beloveds just outside the door. There's 2 open chairs right here. Come. Whoever you are, wanderer, dervish, whoever, come sit. And come join me on the stage here. There's a few little places off to the side. Come, don't be shy. I'm not going to bite you very hard. Come. Peppy, my love, come sit right here. All right, come. Do we have everyone? Do we have like almost everyone? It's like herding butterflies, not just cats. Cats you can lure with food, butterflies. Oh, my dear ones. So, it's so great to see you. My name is Alethea Devi. I know so many of you. And as you can see, Sue's had a lot of friends. She had a lot of circles that she interacted with. She connected a lot of people together. She just experimented with everything. So a little on the earth plane stuff. We are here, and when we're not here, we're downstairs. So our idea was we were going to have a beautiful service and spend most of our time in party mode downstairs. And we've got lots of food that you all brought. Thank you. And there's, this beautiful video, which you can show again along the way. We have the opportunity, since there's so many of us, and Sue's meant so much to so many people, we could be here 3 weeks, all exchanging comments about what she meant to us. But your opportunity is go downstairs in the kitchen where we're going to eat in that dining area. In the corner, there is a video camera. That's where you're going to post your comments. And you see someone in the corner, don't hesitate, stand close by, because as soon as they're done, you just pop right in there. As soon as that person's done, you just pop right in. What we want is this commentary to be added to this video, and then it's going to be posted online, and you'll be able to see all of this, and you'll be able to see all the movies, and shots of her artwork. So in this room, we have some of her prints of her artwork that's pinned onto the walls all over. This special piece that Michael's going to be talking about. And I'm so glad you dressed up nice and happy. This is the happiest skirt I have. Please feel free to sit on the step here. Thank you. Thank you. We also have a job to do. If you find your little packet, that is actually Sue's ashes. George still has the majority of it, and Sue, as we know, likes to travel. So we're going to help her travel. So you take these packets and you scatter them to the elements in any place that is beautiful, any place that you would have loved to take her to. Could be in your garden, could be at the beach, wherever you think she would be happy. To the elements, scattered to the wind, in the fire, in the river, in the ocean. You could even eat it if you wanted to. Trying to think of earth plane things, and I think we are in completion for that. If I need another thing, it'll just come. So let us begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Great Spirit, Creator, Mother Goddess, Yahweh, Elohim, Allah, you of so many names, you that is nameless, you that is unnameable. We experience you through our minds, our bodies, and today through our hearts. As we pay tribute to a very beloved spirit, a very beloved soul and person that we knew and know as Susie, Suzan, a daughter, a sister, a mother, mother-in-law, counselor, artist, mentor, experimenter, explorer, adventurer, lover, joyful. We attune our hearts together as a community in this moment, feeling this presence that permeates all of us, all beings, all creation, that unites us all together regardless of what form we are in. All energy just exchanges form, and thus the energy that made the body of our friend is not gone, just redistributed, reabsorbed. So let us take a breath together to bring in this new refined energy together. One more. That's right, let it go. And a nice big one and a side out. Amen. Many of you have known our Suze for decades, but guess who has known her the longest? We just happen to have Michael Butler, her brother, and he's going to come up and tell us about her early days.
Well, here's a spoiler alert. She hasn't changed all that much. She was always really a unique person. I mean, Suzan, that's like 940. Oh, okay.
You need to lift it up, right?
There you go. You can hear me? Anyway, Suzan, the way she spelled it or was spelled, I'm not sure that was on her birth certificate. I doubt it. But she was pretty flexible and stuff like that. That was...
Thank you.
You sure you want to hear me? I don't know. That spelling was like 941st in terms of popularity. Back in 1938 when she was born, people were Brenda or Shirley or Marianne, but nobody was Susan. I guess that's just the way she was. 1938, she was born in Oregon City, which meant that she got the grand prize on the ovarian lottery. So she was born in the right place at the right time. And back in that time, it was a little bit different than today. You could buy a new house for $3,800, get a Chevy for $750, and gasoline was 10 cents a gallon. The downside was you're making 40 cents an hour for minimum wage, so it's going to take you a while. And the unemployment was at 19%. It was much better than the year before when it was 25%. So the world was coming out of a deep recession, getting ready for war. There's a surprise. And we haven't changed a lot since then. Anyway, she was born to Robert Butler and Catherine Butler. They were both 23 years old. They had been married for 4 years, and you think about it, I was thinking about the gestation period on that. I thought, wow, that's more than 9 months. So they did real well. Her dad was an immigrant. He came from Canada, the old country. He was born in Abbotsford with his sister and brother. I'm not sure when they came down. He was, I think, he was about 6 years old when they came down from the old country. I don't know the date or the time. I do know the time. I don't know the date. Back then, the border closed at 5 o'clock, and everybody went home. It's like if you went to France, and you were going from England to France, and you were during the lunch hour, they just closed the border, and you just went across. That's the way it worked. So they crossed at 5:30 at night in a borrowed car, got a train from Bellingham down to Portland, and eventually migrated down migrated down to the McMinnville area, and they got a farm. Anyway, her dad worked at a tire plant, Butler Tire and Battery. His dad started that, and he worked there with his older brother, John. And so it was a small family affair where they would recap tires. People used to, even back then, be a little bit more conservative in terms of spending resources. When I knew her as a kid, I don't even remember much when I was younger, but I remember her deep interest in art. She started with pencil, and then she went up to charcoal, and then she went to watercolors, and then she had this great experiment in India ink. And I don't know if you know, India ink is made from soot. It's carbon black, and if you spill it, it's got the heart and the hardness and the unforgiveness of the devil's own heart. It's pretty tough. She did spill it in her mom's bedroom at one point in time. It was a week after her mom had this brand new wall-to-wall wool carpet. Guess what color it was? Yeah, it was white. Right in the middle of the room. And so she went back to pencil after that for a short time. She did well. I did like her drawings. I mean, with 2 or 3 lines, she could draw a horse or a mountain or a meadow, and you could look at it and you could see right away that there was talent, and it was a beautiful drawing. It was, some people would say it would lift the hearts of angels. Of course, when I was a little older, she started drawing nudes, and that would lift the heart rates of the young boys in the neighborhood, too. So she was appealing to everybody. Her life as a young gal was pretty much middle class. There was a Buick in the garage and a nice Cape Cod house that she grew up in. But in May of 1955, her dad died. He had a small Piper Tripresser airplane, hit a mountain, and it was done. He had just turned 40, and Susie was 17 at the time. So, as the sayings go, when it rains on the just and the unjust. And that was tough on her, and I think it was a struggle for her mostly with her mom, and not so much with us, because she didn't pay any attention to us, which was pretty smart on her part. But she was in high school, and she did turn herself more to her studies. And one thing I noticed, she used to lock herself in the bathroom, and she said she was studying, and I didn't know till later on that she would just take a dictionary, and she'd just read the words, and she would remember them. And then later on, I had the pleasure of playing Scrabble against her. It wasn't a pleasure for me, it was for her. She just really kicked my ass. So she would know words like aglet. I don't know if anybody here knows what an aglet is, AG. Some people do. It's that little tip that's on the end of your shoelaces. She would just come up with these words, and I would challenge her, and I would just lose. My brother, he beat her in Monopoly, but he has a little bit different heart style than Susie. But anyway, she studied hard. She became valedictorian of Lincoln High School, and then she went on to Reed College. She followed through on her art. She always had, though, in the back of her mind, a spirit of adventure and experimentation. I think it was Ogden Nash or Mark Twain that said, most of us, when we get old, we look back on our lives and we look at regret on the things that we didn't do, not so much the things that we did do. Well, our Sue, she did about everything. You know, you could tell her to go to hell and she'd start packing. She was just ready to rock and roll. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Who's we got next? George?
Well, I was going to ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
The house that she lived in on southwest Nebraska, you stayed there for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, that was part of her deal, too. She was a very compassionate person. I had come back from overseas. I was in the military service, if you couldn't tell. And I said, I got to finish college. I'm bummed out. I have no place to stay. Do you mind if I crash here for a while? And she said, well, how long do you need to stay? And I said, well, 3 years, if that works out. She says, okay, take the other bedrooms. And that was one thing about her place. I would go and visit her from time to time. Over the years, I'd go there to see her. She'd be gone on, I don't know where she's going. George will tell you where she goes, everywhere. I'd walk in, and there'd be some people there I didn't know, big surprise. And I'd say, hello, I'd introduce myself. This is Mike. I'm her brother. Who are you? Well, I'm a friend of a friend who needs a place to stay for a while. And one of the things that reminds me of that, too, is when I look back at my time, I never had a key to her place. George, does she have a key made to the house?
It's on my string.
Oh, next to the door? In the back. Yeah, nobody would ever use the front door anyway. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. I'm impressed by the Volvos and the Subarus in the parking lot. And there's a few Toyotas out there, too.
That's a counterweight. The knob in the middle.
Okay, well, I'm just going to do it this way. No, my kite is going to help me. Thank you, my love. Thank you. It's very good because we'll have to do it up again for George. So if you read in your program, this is like, when you get up in front of people that you know a lot and then your brain shuts off for a minute. Inside is the program, celebration party details and thank yous, and then there's this single. This is her obituary that is lovingly composed by Chrissy Lavielle, and it tells a lot about her life in the outside world, right? Things that she did. But we also are going to talk about her inner life as well. Part of her inner life, and we're going to touch on this, when you talk about a person, you can't just say, and this is her life work, and then the next topic will be her art, and then the next topic is this, because as you will know, they do blend together. And Sue's expressed that seamless way of being because her work in the world was supported by her spirituality, as we well know. Her artwork, the ones that are pinned up, there is a Sue's art giveaway, 3 tables worth, downstairs, just beyond the kitchen where we're going to eat on your way to the bathrooms. Place where you eat, the kitchen, and around the corner. 3 lovely tables of prints, dating from pieces created from 1962 to ones that she started in pencil or pen and ink, and then later colored, and then up till 2015, that are mostly all in print. So varieties of different medias, and then there's reproduction copies. So those are for you. Take home some of her art. She was excited when we talked about, what do you want to do with all of your prints? And I took them home and separated them into piles, and it literally covered the whole room of my salon. And I said, what would you like to do with these? She says, I don't know, give them away. She says, yeah, let's do that. So pick one or two and take those home with you. Next, we want to bring up our George. George, my darling. Her life and adventures. This is a woman, as you well know, has decorated every part of her house. Do you know anybody like that? Inside and out. And she's had a very full life. 4 husbands? 3, 4?
3.5.
3.5.
They weren't legally married.
Okay.
Well, we were illegally married too. We didn't want to miss out on anything.
All right, this is you.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, well, we're all here because we loved Susie. And people love me as well. So I feel very, very fortunate to have all these friends and neighbors and family, and they're good people. And this one dolly here was from Susie's cancer dolly. So when she had cancer, part of her healing was doing dollies. So this is Between Worlds. So I think Susie is between worlds with us here. You know, that she wanted a celebration. So we're all doing a good job. Thank you. And all the art and the love. And I remember before I knew Susie, I saw the house and I went, oh, somebody lives there that I want to know. So before I knew her art. And I think the first time we noticed each other was at the Mutants Ball. So it was an anti-nuclear closed down Trojan, which we did. Yes. We still closed down. And also, and we were supposed to come as your mutation. So we noticed each other's mutations. We were like, oh, compatible mutation. And Susie was radial symmetry. She was bacteria Portlandia. And lots of sleazy fabric. And I think I had antenna and big hair, and lots of big hair. And and also at Central America Solidarity. So we noticed each other. And so we had to work through our own stuff in order to get together, but we were drawn together. We just loved each other. We were drawn together. So that's the ordinary magic. And one time I was going back east with Susie to visit our families, and I had a dream or a vision. So we're on the train, and you're rocking and everything, and so I went to the land of the stories. So all the different characters were telling their stories, and there was Greek mythology, and there was Coyote, and people I didn't know, and Finn McCool came up to me and said, and I'm part Irish, a little bit Irish, and he said, well, what's your story? And I said, oh, well, I have the poor man's treasure, which is love. So that was my story. And he said, oh, good story. So I came back out of that. And when we went on our honeymoon, we went to Bali. And I took my wife's name for the honeymoon. In Bahasa Indonesian, Susi means cream. So we were Mr. and Mrs. Cream. And so I go back to Indonesia, I'll be Mr. Cream. And so we had years together, 27 years together, and I can get the blues about her not being around, but the way she lived the life the way she wanted to live her life, and she died the way she wanted to die, and then it's just me figuring out, well, what's next? You know, so it's not bad. none of it's bad. It's just things happen, and then you got to go on and figure it out. So I'm in the figuring it out mode, and I've been laid. So we'll all be laid and happy and live our lives and enjoy what there is to enjoy, and that's what Susie would want. Yeah. Okay. Oh, let me sing a song, John. Let me sing a song.
Well, she also has a daughter.
Oh, her daughter Andrea. Her daughter Andrea was here, and that was part of the thing when she was dying. Her daughter was here with her husband. Mm-hmm. So Andrea and Chris were here, and she wanted to die with them here. Mm-hmm. So that was really important to her. And so I was glad that they were here because I was getting kind of worn out. And so more people is good, and that was good. And there's granddaughter and grandson. There's Alma. We visited Alma and her husband Herman in Flagstaff in October, and that was wonderful. And there's Felix, who's kind of lost in a computer somewhere, like many screens. And so hopefully he'll come out. And
I was going to ask you, when did she buy her house?
She bought it in 1962, and it was about $10,000. So people have asked me if I'm moving, and I'm like, it's my home.
So somebody do math. 1962 to 2019.
It makes them 56 years old because that's the year I was born.
Yes, right. 56 years in one lovely home.
And we're the third owners. So some houses keep you, and some houses people just go through. But our house is like a keeper house. And
when was it built?
It was built in 1887. So we're the third owners, and however many years that is, a bunch of years.
So then the living room is a little different than originally. Remember?
Yeah, it got added onto and then when I moved in, there was a rug. Micah was talking about a rug in his old house, so there was a rug there, and the rug was kind of beat. So Susie and myself and some other roommates painted the rug. So we did kind of a Persian rug with other addition. And it was like that for a few years, and then the pad kind of died underneath it.
Yeah.
So I pulled it up, and there was oak flooring. So I fixed that up some, and where there had been a porch, there was a bay window. So there's a mosaic in there. So the house kind of grows and changes. And there's something that's a little rotten on the garage. So that's my project this summer, is to get rid of the little bit of rot.
So our Suze, if you've ever been to the house, and if you haven't, you need to.
Yeah, come visit. And this is a picture here of part of the bedroom.
Murals.
So there, part of it is.
So murals all over. And I know you can sort of hear me even through this microphone. The stairway going upstairs is a river with salmon making its way up, right? And collecting art from not only her travels, but from fellow artists, and many beautiful windows created by Michael A.G. And a lot of your contributions.
Oh yeah, we both did art in the house.
Yes, a lot of the tile. Did you do the tile
I did a
work?
bunch of mosaics, and
Yes.
I had done stained glass at one point, but it all got broken. So I went, mosaic. And then by the back door, there's a mosaic going into the back door, and there's a poem to go with it too, and it's the broken teachings of life. That everything is broken, and then if it's beautiful, you make something else out of it. If not, it's for somebody else. You know,
That's awesome.
And then the other thing I learned from Susie about art was you couldn't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You know, that if things go, they just keep going, and you want to make them better. So you can either have them better or worse. So better. Make them better. You can't, make it exactly the way it was.
So your last trip together, that was to Mexico
Yeah.
last year?
A couple of years ago, and Albert is here. We went to Baja. We went to Baja, Todos Santos, and when I first was deciding to marry her, I'd gone to Todos Santos with my friend. His mom was dying there. That she had cancer, and she tried different treatments. So in Todos Santos, all the saints, and it was great. They had a Catholic church, and it was just all the Our Ladies, and the baby Jesus.
Nice.
So that was nice. And I decided I had to go marry Susie, and I got off the train. Took a plane and a train and whatever. And I got off the train, and Susie was jumping up and down that she was so happy to see me. And then there was these other guys that was hoping it was for them. And I thanked her when she was dying. I thanked her for asking me to marry her. That she, so sometimes, ladies, you just have to ask the guys, if they're not, they might not figure it out, So she helped me. She, we were good together, and we had a lot of good years. And one of the neighbors walks her dog every day, and I said, I had 27 years with Susan, and it was the best that I had. And she said, I had 50 years with my husband. So we all, value and treasure what the love you have, and the love you make is the love you take is equal to the love you make.
Yes.
Both of you.
In my next life, I'm going to be taller. I don't know how to arrange that. Being she was a world traveler, she also loved all the music of the world, but she really had a hankering for cowboy music. And one of her favorite songs, and we've got this amazing, beautiful Kevin Shea Johnson to come and play us a tune, my darling.
I don't know if I want to stand behind that.
Okay, you don't have to. You can stand it however you want.
Yeah. Susie, in my mind, was a really far out character. Whenever I would go to the house, it was I always felt like I could do anything I wanted. It was about permission over there. And George and I have been really close friends for many years. And that's how I met Susie, was through George. But she loved to listen to the Swingin' Country show on cable. Every Saturday morning, she just loved yodeling. So on her birthdays, I used to go over and sing a couple of cowboy songs and yodel for her. And since she was born in August, I'd give her zucchini out of the garden and green beans and yodel a couple songs, and that was my present to her. So this is an Ernest Tubb song called Waltz Across Texas. And there's a nice chorus that you can sing along. And then the last time through, we can all yodel together. If you've never yodeled, how you yodel is you just reach that break point in your voice, like when you were an adolescent and you do that kind of thing. Remember when you were 13? So it goes something like this. When we dance together, my world's in disguise. It's a fairyland tale that's come true. And when you look at me with those stars in your eyes, I can waltz across Texas with you. Waltz across Texas with you in my arms. Waltz across Texas with you. Like a storybook ending, I'm lost lost in your charms, and I could waltz across Texas with you. My heartaches and troubles are just up and gone the moment that you come in view. And with your hand in mine, dear, I could dance on and on. I could waltz across Texas with you. Waltz across Texas with you in my arms. Waltz across Texas with you. Like a storybook ending, I'm lost in your charms, and I could waltz across Texas with you. This is for Susie now. Yodeling, yodeling, oh, yodeling, yodeling, beautiful, yodeling, yodeling. I could waltz across Texas with you. Oh, and I could waltz across Texas with you.
Oh my goodness. We could listen to that for an hour. You'll see these things coming up over and over again. Her creativity, her generosity, her spirituality, the work she did in the world. Again, I just refer to the obituary and all the things that she did for the state of Oregon, helping minority groups or groups that were not helped very much. And she, as her experimental life, said, what would happen if I went over and talked to them and helped them where they were hurting? And as you well know, her creativity, the way she dressed, her voluptuous, luxurious pear shape, right? Unique. Her beautiful, thick, wavy hair. Do you remember the day she cut it? She cut it. And it's like, it's even more perky than it was before. And the different ways she styled her hair. All her hats, all the jewelry, all the stuff that you're wearing, right? Little bits of art, incredible little treasures that she brought home from her travels, fabric. So I wanted to bring up Sonia and Michael A.G. to talk about her creativity and her art. And we're going to start with our Sonia. Sonia had set up and had the idea of the ashes in the little packs, and then she's organized and put together the Sue's Art giveaway tables. And would you please come up and share some insights and comments about her creativity and her process, her art?
Actually, Michael should be first because I'm just about the newest member of Susie's posse.
Okay. Little rearrangement. Come, my darling. And we can adjust however you need.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. So George asked me, so come say some things about Susie's art. And I was like, oh, that's a small topic. Okay. Right. And the more and more I thought about it, the more I realized, no, I keep thinking about Susie's art, and it keeps bringing me back to myself. And the more I think about her art and what I wanted to say about it, the more I kept reflecting on my own process and creativity. And it was like Susie was sitting there talking to me in the moment of reflection, going, this is what it's like. You do art, and if your art touches people's hearts, when they think about you and your art, it's going to bring them back to their heart. And that's exactly what's been happening to me for the last couple of days. So, George, thank you for that. I mean, it's mind-blowing and humbling. It brought up something for me that Susie taught me a long time ago. And I want to share the story. We were living at the White Barn. Some of you will remember the White Barn. I was a bit of a younger fellow then. And we were painting like a windy mural that went up the stairs into the top. And any of you that have worked with me on a project, you know that my spirit is sort of, Greek or Egyptian. I tend to like things very much in harmony and in balance. And if you do this on this side, you complement it with that on that side. That's just my spirit shape. Susie was not that way. and I was sitting there trying to do clouds. Have you ever tried to do clouds that are this way on this side and that way on that side? And they mirror. It just doesn't work. And I was trying to do clouds, and there was another fellow who was with me, and I couldn't get him to do it right. They just weren't cloud-like. They looked like, a bad wood block print of a cloud. So this other fellow, and I don't remember his name, but I liked him. He was kind of a friend of the house. He just came up with a brush and just sort of went, shh, 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 shh. And Susie went, yeah, that's it, like that. And I was like, damn. I've been working on this thing for 3 days, and I couldn't get anything that looked like clouds. And he did it in like a half a second. And Susie went, that's it. And just to hear it from Susie's mouth, oh, that kind of freedom is what art can be. And it started a process for me that continues to this day. I still work very hard at allowing things curlicue out, which is kind of strange because those of you who are closest to me know that Dionysus and I are kind of tight, and he's not really sort of a linear sort of God. So there are lessons for me in all of this, and I'm sure that if all of you reflect just a minute on how Susie's art touches your heart, you'll know that it's Susie who's touching your heart. I mean, she really is. I'm wearing this pin right here that she gave me years ago, and literally, it was on her lapel one day, and I went, oh, that is so beautiful. And then it was on my lapel. I'm like, okay. She taught me something else that day, that when art is admired, when the heart of someone else reaches out and touches your art, it's okay to let it go. It's okay to let your art go to other people. And that was a huge thing for me because I was like, okay, art's about creating this thing, and then it's this, it's like your baby. And Susie was like, yeah, but I've got thousands of children. Have some kids. So that's what I want to say about Susie's art. I mean, we all have been touched by her artistry and by her love and her ability to allow chaos, which is life, into her art is what brought it to life. And so I hope to be able to reflect for the rest of my life on her leadership and her inspiration in that direction so that my art will continue to improve over time. So my heart loves Susie's art very much. I don't always understand it, but I always love it. So that's what I had to say. Oh, wait, one more thing. George shared something with me. Susie said, words to this effect, that the spirit in a piece, whenever you're looking at a piece and trying to figure out where is the spirit in this thing, Susie said the spirit is always in like the knot of the wood or the drop of paint that went over there. That's where the spirit is leaking out of the material and into the piece. That's where it happens, where random and life and the universe all come together and the piece comes to life. So look for the knots and the ink blots in your life. There you go.
Yes, I think that's okay. As I said, I'm one of the newest members of Susie's posse. Before I met George and Susie, I didn't like my life in the Pacific Northwest. I was not a good fit. And when George and Susan drew me in, wow, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And her creativity re-sparked mine. I was finally working again. It was just amazing to me. And she was generous with her time, just as she was generous with her heart. And she never stopped giving, and she never stopped making. I understand that Susie's first explorations were in line, pen, pencil, and finally prints. And then she graduated to form and texture, a little bit of sculpture. Her skin looked like skin. The velvet that she drew, you could touch. She was amazing. But the best stuff is the later stuff, the wonderful things that she did to deal with her cancer. The cancer dolls are probably her most brilliant work, and you can tell when you look at them all which one comes first and which one comes last. She put all of the negativity and fear into the first one, which will give you nightmares. You don't want to see it more than once. And then this one here is the last. Come see it. It may help you on your journey. When Suze had her stroke, she methodically set out to regain her cognitive skills. In ceramics class, she found that her hands remembered, but she didn't like her output. So then she went to crafts that she had never experienced before, trying to get a hand-mind coordination. Quilling, for example. Kind of boring. Then, I think, as a continuation of that trying to get a connection, she started doing what are called soul cards, selecting magazine and photographs and putting them together in some of the most surprising ways. You ought to see them. Some of them are really, really interesting. But the best of the last work is the things that she made, the little sculptures and the amulets and the pendants and the pins that we who have them treasure. Most of them were started with little pieces that she picked up on hikes or walks with George along the estuary of the Elwha. And then she would add dried turkey tail fans, a stone, a shell, a little bit of gauze, a plastic turtle. She would put these things together, glaze them, gild them, paint little selected places. And we who have them are very proud of them. One of my favorite stories about Suze is that after the stroke, whenever things got too complicated, conversation was too convoluted, or there was an argument she really didn't want to participate in, she would sit there and go, I can't deal with that. I had a stroke. And then she'd skin you at Bananagram. And that's all I have to tell you about a person who became my dearest friend in a very short time. I'm very grateful for the experience that I had with her. And I'm grateful for the friends that she gave me, because my circle enlarged so much as a consequence of knowing her, because she's knew so many people that are people like me, with hearts like me. And I believe that I'll have these friends forever because of that. She was definitely the light in my window. Thank you. So
So George, do you come up and join me again, and we'll talk about some of her spirituality.
Well, I was going to sing a song.
Songs are good.
Songs are good.
Perfect
and
time
people
for
can
songs.
join in. And I met Susie also through the goddess religion, through Wicca.
Lovely
so,
pagans.
We all come from the goddess. You know that song. And that was one of the paths. So you can sing too.
Oh, good.
Okay. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain, flowing to the ocean. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain, flowing to the ocean. So when I first met Susie too, she said she was a Buddha Episcopagan, among other things. So I hadn't realized that she was a Buddhist before I knew her in the Karma Kagyu, the Tibetan Buddhist. So when she was dying, the hospice people, we were in her home, and that was good. And she was up in the sunroom that we built and by the trees. And so the hospice nurse said, well, what was your work? And she worked as a psychiatric social worker, and she worked with people and couples and transgender people, and she wasn't afraid. She didn't run away from whoever, you know. And so as a Buddhist, I hadn't realized she'd taken the Bodhisattva vow, which I hadn't realized she'd done, which was to help other people before she would help herself. And when she was dying, she said, well, I'm dying. I have to take care of myself. And she also, we were still married. I was still her husband. But she was in her own space. She needed to do whatever she needed to do to die, to go where she wanted to go. So I valued that and appreciated that. And she went to India, and we went to Thailand several times. We went to Nepal. We went to Bali on our honeymoon. So we liked going to Asia. So somehow that was a place we went to Mexico some. So when she also said when she was, the night before she died, she said she was going to where there was a lot of rice. So, and I know she went to Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna was somebody who was a Christian, a Hindu, and a Muslim. So she went to Ramakrishna's, and some of the pictures that we were cycling through were going to different ashrams and different holy places. So Susie was open to different paths. She was Susie of many paths. And I'm sure she went to the light. You know, that she was somebody who went to the light. And we're at the time of Passover and Easter. And the Easter, one of the pictures, the Easter bunny. We've got the Easter bunny. And there's the egg. And then in the red cedar circle, she did a picture of the Easter bunny with the egg, and it hatched open, and it was a frog. So you never know. So that was another path, the red cedar circle, and the Sasiwas medicine, and the Indian Shaker Church. So Susie was open to many paths to the sacred and nature, and I worshipped her as my local goddess. Yes. And when she was working at the mental hospital, one of the psychiatrists or somebody who went off his nut said he was God. So she said, well, who am I? And he said, oh, you're Susie McGogo. So that was Susie, minor goddess of Greater Oregon. Even Godwin.
So she was also attracted to what we call Western Sufism, American Sufism in particular, and the Ruhaniyat order of the Dances of Universal Peace. Her husband, Abraham, yes, was involved in that, and of course she jumped right in. And if you're familiar with the Sufi principles, is of inclusive and honoring all paths to God, honoring all people's life experiences, how they are developing themselves, polishing their hearts, opening up to the love to radiate and be each other's witness and care for each other. Dances of Universal Peace. So if you don't know what that is, talk to me later. And the idea of, well, the maker of the Dances of Universal Peace, Samuel Lewis, was born a Jew, studied Kabbalah, also was a Buddhist master as well as a Sufi master from a lineage that goes back to India through the Inayat Khan lineage. So all of these things mixed together. The beauty of Christianity, the inclusivity of Sufism, and the beautiful principles of Buddhism, and the beautiful earth-oriented spirituality of the pagan traditions, and all of these mixed together. And I know many of us live this way as well. And if you hear anything from Michael Bethwick, Reverend Michael Bethwick, who I adore, he speaks to us about, and this is my new favorite term, interspirituality. This is where you find divinity everywhere. You can go to any place of worship, whether it's human-made or nature-made, and feel the presence of God, Allah, whatever name we give it. You feel that. That's what our bodies are for. This is why we are incarnated, so we feel this.
And there's also the Red Cedar Circle.
Yes.
So we were going to sing a couple of songs from that. And we have the cedar.
Yes,
We have the cedar
Get your
bow.
cedar out.
And then if people have drums or whatever, we can...
So our natural noisemakers are our hands,
clap
right?
those.
So we're going to be clapping our hands.
So there's words to this song.
Do you want to tell them to come up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this came to the Hilaire family up in by Bellingham, the Lummi people. Oh, and it's the words are cedar tree, sing with me, dance with me, pray with me, heal me. And then at the end of the song, if you want to, you can put what's in your heart. And then it's kind of like amen. You send, ooh, up, what's in your heart up to the Creator.
So we have people with drums.
So if you have a drum or if you want to clap your hands, you can. Or
we
just
wanna have-
wave your cedar bow, that's fine.
George, do we want to have our friends with drums up here to join us?
They can just, wherever they are.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you
Wherever
are.
is comfortable.
Oh, cedar tree, clap your hands and sing with me. Way-ah-hey, 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 way-ah-hey. Oh, cedar tree, clap your hands and dance with me. Way-ah-hey, 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 ah-hey, ah-hey, way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey. Oh, cedar tree. with me. Way-ah-hey, 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 ah-hey, ah-hey, way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey. Oh, cedar tree, clap your hands and heal me. Way-ah-hey, 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 ah-hey, ah-hey, way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey, way-ah-hey. Oh, 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 So you put what's on your heart, and then you make a sound. They say it's like the whales. And then our teacher Johnny Moses painted this drum, and these are from the women's basketry, the patterns, Wistamini. So this is traditional, and our friend Chelsea Nauman made the drum, and he was well enough to come. So prayers for Chelsea Nauman, that he can feel better. And that's all I have to say. Did you have any other?
Yeah, one more little thing.
Okay.
Thank you. Mwah. You ever get a chance to go with George up to the Medicine House in the Swinomish lands? It is a blast. It's a lovely place. They play drum and the bell at the same time and sing in deep, full voice. Now I want to ask you. This is a moment for you. Yes, I will sing to you. But it's also a moment for you to think about what is one or two words that comes to your mind that describes our Suze. And being I don't have 50 microphones, and this is a small, lovely room, I'm just going to invite you a moment to think about one or two words that describe Suze. And then I'm going to invite you to speak them aloud like popcorn, all at the same time. So what comes to mind? Got it? Yes, generous, artistic. Yes, sexy,
Voluptuous.
voluptuous. Yes, brilliant, silly. Yes,
Big-hearted.
big-hearted,
Laughing eyes.
playful,
Indomitable.
spirited,
Beautiful.
beautiful. Yes,
Vibrant.
exuberant. Yes, yes.
Strong.
Yes. Natural teacher, compassionate. Yes.
Mentor.
Yes.
Generous.
Whimsical.
Nonconformist.
Non-conformist. Yes.
Continually reborn.
Continually reborn and reinventing herself yet again and again. Eclectic.
Buzzing joy.
Buzzing joy.
Alive with kindness.
Yes.
Leader in community.
Yes.
Engaging.
An esteemed elder, an esteemed crone. I tell you, she shows me how to be a crone. Oh, I can hardly wait. Am I kind of almost there already?
Classy.
Classy.
Yeah. Classy.
Sassy.
Yes. So we've got these great words for her. So after we're done here, go downstairs in front of the video machine and say your words and give a comment. And remember that all of these are going to be collected and put on the video. And there's more videos downstairs. We have got like 2 or 3 of them. And also remember, in future times, George is going to have parties, because this man loves to have parties. And we're going to come over to his house, and there's a famous mud-oriented video, playing in mud. What does the goddess look like when she's completely covered in mud? Right. Yes, this is very fun. So I will just introduce this last little part that we'll finish up with. I won't sing it in front of the microphone because it'll be too loud. First of all, I need my little cuppy of water. Can you bring me my water there? Thank you. Thank you so much. It's easier sometimes to sing for strangers than it is in front of your own family.
We're all strange.
Strange. Yes, you are my strange family. As we all are family to each other, are we not? I want to share with you a song that was given to me by Spirit. It came to me while I was in the jungles of Peru, down outside of Pucallpa at a ayahuasca healing center. I stayed there for a month and then another 2 weeks in the Sacred Valley. And you know the great places that are there, Cusco, Machu Picchu. I had my own personal awakening there, but that is a 4-hour-long story. We don't need to go there. But what I did gain is permission to be a channel for medicine music. And I'm very excited to share this. What it does, it's a journey. We are starting off with our grief. We're starting off with understanding what has happened and being with that. And then we will move as the beat gets a little faster and we sing a little fuller, acknowledging that life goes on. I mean, we're in the exuberance of spring right now. Happy Earth Day, by the way. And as we move from being with what is and being in the throes of life, we are moved to the place of being grateful for the life we have right now. And that we have each other. And then we're celebrating. And so this is going to be the end of this song, this process. We'll be singing faster and louder and fuller, and I welcome you to stand up and dance, because this is celebrating not only our Suze and our connection and the gifts that she shared, but with the life force itself. But we have to start from the very beginning. Can't jump ahead, doing our work now. And it's not so much the words, but the feeling behind the words. And let it wash over you. And you join in as you want.
So if everybody could get up and touch somebody next to them, hold hands, or touch the person.
And we will have the Unitarian blessing and holding hands with your neighbors and friends. Okay, so let me take this out.
All the Unitarians do one chorus first so that everybody...
Unitarians, you know this song. Sing out loudly. One more time, and we'll have Jules.
Of peace and love until we meet again. One more time. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.
Our party downstairs. We have an amazing food potluck. Remember the Sue's art giveaway table. There's a table there of display, various pieces of art. We can look at those. People had brought to share so we can see them. Have a marvelous time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.